Truck fans and Summit Racing customers, Dave back with you for another Friday live stream. And this week we have a very special guest. It's Alex Taylor. Alex, thanks for being here. And you've got plenty to talk about. And I'll be honest with you, I don't even know where to start. So how you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me. I'm excited. It's a good break for the work day. So
yeah. So, obviously we have been kind of sharing some of your progress on a project you're working on, Quest for the Sixes. I guess we'll start with that. That's the big project. I know that you're just wrenching away on this thing, trying to get it ready. I think you're looking for Rocky Mountain Drag Week, right?
Race week. So I previously have raced a 68 Camaro, and I ran 850s with it. I'd kind of maxed out my cert, and so I was looking for kind of a step up. I had no idea the step up was going to happen as soon as it did. At the end of January, after I already had my race season totally scheduled and planned out, my dad called me. He's like, "Come to the shop. I got an idea." I was like, okay. So anyways, we ended up pulling out this 55 Chevy that's sitting behind the shop, just rusting away. It was never going to have a different life other than what it is right now. It was meant to be a race car. Rotted, really, really rough shape. So pulled it up, decided to put a 25.3. It's actually getting chassis certed right now. My NHRA tech is here. On the project into January, had to do a complete part search, get everything here in time. And our first race is the second week of June. So it's not finished yet, but it was a major project to take on in a short period of time. And we've got like 10 days now, and I'm going to be going on a quest for 6 seconds in the quarter mile. So
right. So tell us a little bit about, how this idea of going into the sixes came about. I know you're doing some blogging on our site on all cylinders, and you said essentially the 8 seconds just wasn't fast enough, right? So you're looking for the next step.
Yeah, so I've been in the Camaro since I was 16. This will be my 8th year in it. So I had decided that, in order to step up my career, I just graduated college and everything. I want to, pursue high performance automotive full time at this point, whether it be racing or building, whatever it may be. So it's time to make that step, and I had been at this wall. So it either came to the point of upgrading the Camaro and its cert to try to go 7s, which was actually our plan when we started this year, or it was take a bigger leap. So the Camaro holds a special place in my heart. I've had it since I was 16. I drove it to high school. It's got a full street car, vibe to it, so to say. It's got power windows, AC, like it is a street car. So to put that funny car cage for the 650 cert, I didn't really want to do it, but I was going to make that sacrifice. So our whole thing is we're on the intro to all of our videos, anything quest for the 7s, scratch that. We're going on a quest for the 6s. So skipping the 7s altogether, we'll pass through them, in my car, and going straight to something that's capable of going 6 seconds, building faster, more capable with the 55. So it was just one of those things. It's time to step up. I had done the other for a while. It was time to, bring something new to the show.
Well, I got to step back and ask about the Camaro a little bit. You had to be the coolest kid in the high school parking lot, right? I mean, that's a great looking car.
I went to a football high school, so nobody actually realized what was sitting in the parking lot. But yeah, there was truly a twin turbo 8-second street car sitting there every single day. So it was like really nice because nobody, I didn't have any problems as far as anybody hurting it or anything while I was in class. Right. Nobody realized that it was actually cool. I was just the car girl.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's probably way cooler than most of the stuff we saw in my high school parking lot. That's awesome. So back to the 55 then. Just tell us a little bit about the build. The engine, I think, is repurposed. Is that correct?
Yeah. So when we started this, it was such a short timeline. It was literally initially meant to be, we were just going to take the shell of the 55 and put a chassis in it because we could save weight. So the Nova, which is my dad's car, which we'll be borrowing the engine and transmission from, is close to 3,800 pounds. So weight is our killer. We won't be getting to have any more power. We're using the same engine. We're going to be able to step it up, but it's not going to be a new engine combination or anything. But we will be saving close to 800, 900 pounds. So that's a big deal in the quarter mile. So going to be using that, just repurposing engine. It's a 509 big block Chevy, 8 3/4 to 1 compression. It's going to have twin Pro Mod 88 turbo precision turbos on it. So we're switching to methanol. It's going to be quite a bit of changes. We also did that so we could lose the intercooler, save a little bit of weight there. So mainly the deal with the 55 was originally supposed to be just weight saving, very purpose built. It's turned into a little bit of a snowball effect, and it's a car that I've come to love at this point. We were going to originally just pull everything from the Nova. I'm talking like rear end, transmission, engine, all of the Holley wiring and components, which is a ton of stuff, harness-wise, shocks. So the Nova is essentially just going to be a shell sitting there, which is really sad. My dad had the car since he was 16. So to finally have it back on the road,
big step,
didn't want to totally make it unroadworthy. So thankfully, we were able to gather enough stuff in such a short period of time that the 55 is now its own independent roller with all those components, and so is the Nova. So it's literally just going to be transplanting engine and transmission from one build to the other. So repurposed, but mathematically it works out.
Yeah.
We should see 6s, but it's not going to be initial. I don't expect to go out and do that even in the first race.
No, repurpose maybe not the best word because there's a lot of work that goes into it to meet the demands that you have for this vehicle. And speaking of that, the roll cage is a huge deal too. I know you guys had been working on that. Also, you did quite a bit of body and prep work on it as well. So
so as far as the chassis goes, we were hunting the 25.3 chassis SFI certification, which means that it can run 650/60s in the quarter as long as it weighs 3,600 pounds or less. So there's lots of rules, lots of specifications we're working within, and I probably just said something backwards. But anyways, so my dad and I totally built that from scratch. Took us about, 3 or 4 weeks, 4 weeks probably, working on and off on it. Got the whole chassis ready to go. So that was a major component. So to see the certification that we're working on getting right now as we speak is a huge deal, big step.
That's exciting. I'm distracting you away from that. So obviously for your time, but I know that was a little unexpected, but it's a good thing. It's a good thing it's happening. Like you said, it's a big step. So, in putting this kind of project together, what is your, what do you enjoy working on the most on these things, and what do you sort of dread, I guess? Is there anything that you don't like to do?
So I've grown up in the shop. I've been in the shop since I was literally a couple weeks old. My dad's full time is building. Right now he's kind of switched to more high performance stuff. He used to be restoration type stuff. Anyways, long story short, that's something I've grown up around, but this car I've learned so much on. I helped build my Camaro. I've been hands-on on, tons of other projects, but it's funny because I haven't done any of it enough, so to say that I dread it. So it's a learning process. So you asked me round 2, when I do this again later with another build, what do I dread? I'll probably have that answer, but something I really enjoyed so far was the chassis. I like the learning aspect of it. I really enjoyed that, learning like the specifications, working within these parameters. That's kind of stressful, but it's also really neat. By the end of it, you're ready for it to be over. But in the process of it, I really enjoyed that. This car's just been a learning process for me, like a big learning process. Something that I shouldn't say dreading, something that I am a little bit stressed about coming up is we will be wiring the car next week. I actually have a friend coming in. Me and him are going to be wiring, and it's not just a simple set of wires. It's not a chassis harness, nothing like that. We're going to be wiring a lot of different components, MSD components, Holley components that I've never personally worked with. So wiring those, making it, ran neat and nice. There's nowhere to tuck in this car, hide stuff, and actually program it into the software. That's a little bit stressful, especially under the time or lack of time.
Right.
One of my biggest dread right now, but it'll be over and it'll be worth it.
Okay. Yeah. So it sounds like this is not only a dream to go into 6s, but you're just kind of using this also as a learning sort of process for some of the things you haven't done. And we appreciate you're sharing a lot of this with our fans on All Cylinders, on our Instagram page. And it's been fun to kind of go along for the ride. So once the car's done, we talked about the first event. What else do you have planned? I know you do a lot of different events. You've done the LS Fest and everything else. So what's on the agenda?
right now for this car, the main focus one was just make it to this first race, which is going to be Rocky Mountain Race Week 1.0. We were really, really shooting for the Summit Midwest Drags coming up this upcoming week. That was our goal, but I was going to take the Camaro. But if I do that, I sacrifice taking the 55.
Right.
The rest of, that's happening. So anyways, sadly, we do have to skip that. So Rocky Mountain Race Week 1.0, starting June 12th will be our first race. Throughout July, I don't have anything dead set. It's going to be kind of like fixing everything that we didn't fix for this first race. And then going into August, we're looking at possibly roadkill nights or maybe try 5 nationals. So just a kind of a short break there. And then going into September is going to be our back-to-back, like I'm scared about it, race season coming up. So we'll have Rocky Mountain Race Week 2.0, and then we have a 1-day turnaround, and we have to be from north to south for drag week. We start literally a day after race week. So that's 2 weeks of back-to-back racing. I always say, when I'm like, oh, I've got 3 or 4 races on my schedule, that doesn't sound like anything. That sounds like a very, very, small season. But keep in mind on these events, that you're driving your car 1,200, 1,500 miles and then racing for 5 to 6 days a week. Like the wear and tear that happens on the car in that amount of time is comparable to like a season of racing for,
These are real world events where you're driving and you're putting the miles on, and that's what's great about them. So, and speaking of that, I mean, obviously you work on these, you do a lot of content creation, obviously you're sharing your experiences, and then there's the actual events and participating and racing. Do you have a favorite part of those 3 things that you really like to do? Or do you just like it all?
So it's kind of funny. So whenever anybody asks, like, what do you want to do when you grow up, kind of thing, like, what's your end goal with all this? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I'm taking every door and every opportunity that's there. I'm going to take it. So that is, like you're saying, it's the content creation, the building, and the racing. I love each of them for a different aspect. Something that I'm coming to love more is the content creation, because I'm getting to share stuff that I am spoiled in the sense of having like this wealth of knowledge. My dad is insanely smart and capable, and he's hard to keep up with. And since I grew up with that, I didn't think, for a long time how valuable that was. And so I'm really enjoying getting to share his knowledge with other people, because as I've been sharing it and educating other people, they have been like, I've learned so much, like, thank you so much for sharing. So I am having a lot of fun getting to share something that I'm thankful to have grown up with. So content creation is starting to become one of my favorites, but that's hard to say because like being at the track and actually racing,
Right.
like if I could do that all the time, I absolutely would. So I love that as well. I really like all 3 of them. I've never had any one that I like want to hone in on, because I like all aspects of it. I like the build, I like the race, and I like, the content.
No, it's really, really cool that you do get to share this experience. You kind of bring people into the shop and see it's kind of absolutely a family affair with your father involved, and I know your mom and your sister as well. So what's it like working alongside family on this? Is it always rosy, or?
I mean, of course, like Dad and I are so much alike that we definitely like butt heads once in a while. And Mom's like, it's because you guys are just alike. And I'm like, man, I feel bad for you and my sister. There's 2 of us to deal with. But no, for the most part, it's been a lot of fun, especially on this build, because even though it's family, like we've kind of approached it more as like a business, so to say. So as I kind of mentioned, like I graduated college last semester, and prior to that, I had so much stuff like with schoolwork and everything. Like for me to be at the shop and actually be as involved as I wanted to be or should be was almost impossible. I had, the typical college stuff, homework, and then, events here and there. And so it's always busy. So since all that's kind of been put aside and this has become my full time, working alongside them has actually become a lot of fun, because they have, their family, but at the same time, like we've been able to take it like, okay, you have this job, I have this job, and you have this job. And so it's been actually a lot easier to work together. It's made it a lot more fun, because now like Dad and I literally every day we're like, oh, we should do this project next. Like we should build an off-road truck. We should go drifting. Like, so like the creativity
Yeah.
that is flowing is just, it's really neat to be around it. And it's funny because like we live it, like we go home and, or, you know, go out to dinner and we're still talking about it. So
Yeah.
it kind of,
You're like, what should we do next? Yeah. Thinking those steps ahead, which is exciting. So
Mhm.
Father's Day is coming up. What's the biggest thing that you've learned from your dad? It could either be a hands-on thing or just something you've kind of observed in the shop or outside of the shop even.
So probably the best way to like summarize that would be, we named this car that we're building 100 proof. It's 100% proof that you can take something and like nothing and make something out of it, kind of thing. And so I'd say like overall in general, that's probably the biggest thing that I've learned from him, is that if somebody else can do it, you know, there's a way to figure out how to do it yourself. We do everything in the shop, and there is never a problem or something that, like, I'll be like, how do you do this? And he might say, I don't know. And then think for like 30 seconds, and then he's got a solution to it, you know? And so it's always been like that, very problem solving. He's very tenacious. And so I think that's kind of passed on to me. Well, you know, somebody else can do it. I can do it, you know, it might take a little while, but I'm going to figure out a way to do it. So I think it's probably the tenacity and the problem solving and the like anything's possible attitude.
Yeah, take that step back and sort of analyze the problem, and that's something that a lot of people can do, but to actually come up with the solution, that's a whole nother another step. And obviously that he has that. So so for you, what's some advice that you might give somebody that's kind of younger, that's looking to kind of get into this industry or just get into working on cars?
I would say the biggest thing is to start somewhere. So I remember being, you know, I guess I should say, if I was looked at myself 2 years ago, if my younger self could look at myself now, I wouldn't think that I would be in the position that I am in, you know, getting to do what I'm doing. So always keep that in mind. Wherever you start, it doesn't matter as long as you're starting. So find something that you love, find something that you're passionate about it, and take that first step to make it happen. It's probably, you know, not going to be your best step. It might not be, you know, the best you ever do, but as long as you're taking that step and taking that, you know, make ambition and setting that goal, that's the biggest thing. So it doesn't have to be perfect, and you don't have to actually know where you're going. Everybody tries to push the, like, you know, got to have that one end goal in mind. My biggest thing is, like, if the door is open, take it and run with it, because you might find something that you didn't even know you like. So, you know, take the time to explore that and then run. I mean, there's so many opportunities, and don't be afraid to ask. That's the other thing. Like, ask people for help, ask them for advice. Like, I always, like, if there's something that I don't know a situation, I love finding somebody that has experience, and I'm like, hey, what is your opinion? Like, what is your advice on this? And so don't ever think that you can't, you know, find somebody that's got some information to give to you, because that's the most valuable thing.
Yep, absolutely. So you've had also some opportunities to participate in some unique events I don't think you touched on yet, and one of them was recent, just with a couple weeks ago. But during that time, I know your dad really kind of took the reins of the YouTube channel a little bit, and was the on-screen face of the project. How did he like that? And maybe he learned that from you. So it's a two-way.
Yeah. So it's been a crazy past month. Like, I have to look back at my camera roll to remember what I've done this past month, and I'm thankful for that. But the event a couple weeks ago was, I went out to Tucson, Arizona, and filmed a new show for Motor Trend, and that was a crazy experience that I don't even think has sunk in yet fully, that I had that opportunity. But basically I had teammate Derek from Vice Grip Garage. I'm sure most of you probably are familiar with him. Great teammate to work with. And we had a car that was valued at less than $5,000. That was the rules. And you had to take it and race it in like 6 different types of racing. So anything from off-road to drag racing to drifting to, basically, if it shouldn't have been done, it was done. So we dirt drag raced and oval track, and like mixed course. It was so much fun. So we had our team, and then there was 5 other teams, and we were all taking Hoopties. That's called Hoopty World Championship. Be out at the end of the summer, and we tried to make our car run from basically nothing. We actually showed up with a blown head gasket and had to do a engine swap the day after. We actually picked up a Blueprint 350 from your guys' Arlington location. Thankfully, that was able, and we swapped it while we were out there. So it was a lot of work, but it's so much fun. So anyways, my goal while I was out there was still to be sharing videos. I told Dad, I was like, you're going to have to be taking the videos, like taking the time lapses, like send them to me and I'll edit them while I was out there. That did not happen. I did not get that done. I was doing my best to even get some sleep. And I got back and I'm trying to edit him now. And I'm like, Dad, did you video this? No. Like, did you remember to turn the music off? No. I'm like, okay, we got improv here. Like, we'll find a way to share it. But it's been kind of a challenge, but he did good. He had so much work done in that period of time. So I'm thankful that he was cool with working while I was off playing, so to say.
Yeah, he did a nice job on those, keeping everybody updated. So he does very well. So so back on the event, the Hoopty Challenge. When is that going to air? Do you know, or can we say that yet? Or?
I don't have any specific dates yet. I just heard end of summer, so it could be July, August sometime. But once I know that, I'll update everybody. But I'm not sure yet.
And then last year, I know you participated in Cletus McFarland's La Mullets event. So obviously you can tell us a little bit about that experience, but you're looking at, you're drag racing. You talked about all the different things you did with this latest event. You're doing huge circle track. So what do you like the best? What's your favorite type of motorsports? If you got any interesting, I'm sure you got some interesting stories from that.
Oh my gosh. So going into Cletus's event last year I was pumped about it, but I was also super nervous because I had never done anything competitively like that. Like the only competition I've ever done is drag racing. Like that, that's my background. So turning left fast or turning at all fast was not in my vocabulary. Not that I don't want it to be. I absolutely want to dip my toes in every form of motorsports if I can, but I'd never done it. So I actually went out and practiced with the guys at Holly. They found a Crown Vic and let me race it and practice. So I got some really good tips going into the event, but going there and actually competing side by side with some insanely good competitors and some that just didn't even care if they knocked you out or not was a totally different story. So I got done with it and I absolutely loved it. I was like, my problem is every time I try something different, I'm like, we have got to build a car for this. Like we've got to do something. So it's addicting. Yeah. So far, my favorite things that I've done, I had the chance to do circle track there, whatever you might want to call that. And then I recently did off-road. And then I've done some autocross and like road course type stuff. It's hard to pick my favorite. Drag racing will always be my heart and soul. So that's a given. But as far as like other motorsports, I think I really want to try some road course stuff just to work on car control and handling. I'm not saying I'm good, just I enjoy it. I find it interesting. And then off-road. I don't know. Do I have to pick? I like them all right now.
You like everything. Well, it goes back to what you said about the learning experience and, trying to pick up new things. And, each one of those is different things you have to be good at. And so, it's interesting. I just hear your kind of point of view on that. So how old were you when you made your first drag pass then?
So my very first pass was, quick story. We built the car the summer that I turned 16, so 15 going into 16. I turned 16 in July of 2013. And then from there, Drag Week, which was my first event was in September. So right before my dad dropped me off in Bowling Green to go race for a week with my mom in an untested, unproven car, as crazy as that sounds, we rented the track that's about 30 minutes from us, 2 weeks before. So I was like freshly 16 when I made my first pass down the drag strip. So it was a lot. We're good at these tight deadline things. That's what we do.
So now here you are going for the sixes now. So any nerves involved with that, or you feel just more excitement?
Prior to yesterday, actually, I was not nervous because it hadn't sank in. Not because I don't respect the machine that I'm getting ready to get into, but there's been so many other things that I've been thinking about. Driving has actually been the last thing on my mind, which shouldn't be. But yesterday, I went and picked up my SFI 15 suit because I'll be driving. This will have methanol, so have to have that. So picked up my new suit, and right now, the chassis guy here and everything, it hit me like, I looked at Dad last night. I was like, do you realize in like 2 weeks I will be making a pass in this car? And so like the pre-race jitters for me, like even in my car that I've raced hundreds of times, I still get butterflies. So I know once I'm like loading that in the trailer and going over to make my first pass, it's going to be like, nerves are going to be insane. But getting the first pass down the track, just to see that mechanically everything's okay and I can start focusing, it'll be okay. But I know leading up to that first pass, it's going to hit. It started to hit yesterday that like, this is real. Like we built it, but now I can drive it.
Yep. Yeah. So just one last question that's kind of off the topic. What's your dream car? We've talked a lot about it. We've got a lot of great cars in the shop, but what's the one thing you'd want to build?
That's hard. Oh my gosh, I don't even know how to answer that, because previously it would have been like a faster, drag racing car, which the 55 is going to fulfill that for right now. As far as like build wise goes, I don't know. I want to build an off-road something or another of some sort. I say that because I don't know exactly what I want to build. For some reason, I've been stuck on that lately. I don't know why. I don't have details on what I want to build.
Just the idea of,
yeah. I've said though that like, and this isn't a build, but like I would like to build something or I wanted, if it was a new car, I'd like to buy like a Corvette or something, which that's not in budget or reason right now. But I drove a couple of those recently and I'm like, this is really fun. Like it's good for, road course and autocross for somebody who's new like me. So anyways, I don't know. That's always like the hardest question, because I'm like, I think
it is for everyone, but I just had to throw it out there. I didn't know if there's something that when you were kind of, coming up through the ranks, you're sort of looking and thinking that's the car I want to have. But yeah, it makes sense. Off-road something different than what you've done. There's different challenges. I'm sure it'd be pretty cool to dig into something like that for you. Yeah.
You ask me next week and it'll probably change. That's the problem right now. As far as like different builds, right now the 55 is like, that's kind of a dream car in a sense, because it's going to be like the first race car that I've ever driven that is to this caliber and to something that actually fits me. Like it was fitted around me, and that's like crazy to me. It's so cool. So right now it's my dream car, but I've always wanted a 55. That was actually my favorite. That was my favorite car growing up. So
okay, yeah, it looks great. I love the patina and all that. So it's a great looking car. So we'll let you get back to your checking in on your chassis certification. But before you go, obviously we can see a lot of updates on onallcylinders.com, and you've been providing Instagram updates. But where else can we find content?
Yeah, so I'm going to be working on getting some more blogs ready for the On All Cylinders, and as well as Instagram. But as far as if you want some video content, check out Riding with Alex Taylor on YouTube. And that's where I've been posting the whole entire build series. There's 15 videos at this point that's up, and there'll be a lot more to come. It'll be the full race season on there as well. So I'll get you guys updated as well on All Cylinders. I got vlogs ready to go for that. So
awesome. Fantastic. Alex, thanks for making the time. This was a little bit last minute, but you were able to jump on. And I know, like you said, 2 weeks out from your first race, just got back from the Motor Trend event that you worked on. So just so much going on. I appreciate the time.
Thanks for having me. It was a lot of fun.
Absolutely. And thanks everybody out there for watching, and we'll see you next week.
See ya.